Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good to see everybody here today, or good afternoon or evening, I guess, wherever you're from. Nice to see everybody here. It looks like there's some people in the chat already. Go ahead and, if you're joining live, go ahead and say where you're joining from, and we'll see where everybody pops up on the map. It's always a fun game in the morning. Got people from all over again. Good to see everybody here. I will admit, I don't have much of a plan today, so I'm hoping you all have a bunch of questions, because that's what we're going to talk about today. I was trying something new just before we were live, and it did not quite finish in time, but I can talk about that a little bit as well. Got a good crowd from Europe this morning. Got a good East Coast US. Wonderful. Good to see everybody here. Lots of familiar faces. Thank you all for joining. So yeah, I'm still, as you can tell, in this new space that I have not finished properly sound treating. So again, apologies for that. But we're just going to power through and deal with it, because hopefully soon I will have some, I have a rug coming on Friday. That should do a little bit, and then I want to eventually do like proper sound panels on the wall that actually look nice. Also, I mentioned before that I'm trying I'm going for like a look here, right? Like this is what it looks like in here, and it's a disaster, I know. I don't have any furniture yet, but what I am trying to do is keep it so that these nice angles of paint lines are still like visible. So I don't want to cover them up with rectangles, because that would just be boring. So I'm going to try to do proper triangular sound panels. So we'll see how that goes. But that's like obviously going to take a while. So in the meantime, I'm going to do some temporary sound treatment as well, just so that it's not quite as echoey in here in the future. Also, I want to shoot more videos, and I don't want them to all sound like this. So, excellent. All right. Well, again, today we're going to just chat about ATEM Mini, chat about live streaming. I'm here to answer questions. And if you do have a question, drop it in the chat, and make sure you mention my name, and then I'll make it so that I can actually see it stand out in the chatter. So yeah, let me bring that up and grab my H2R Graphics window. All right, this one. Oh, did the countdown go away? Yes, it did. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to load up my chat in. There we go. Yeah, so what I'm doing today again is using H2R Graphics, which is the oh, I just noticed my lights aren't in the right spot. They're not behind me, but I just noticed the super chat. Thank you, Michael. Let me show that on the screen. Great. Thank you so much, Michael. So Roland V1 HD, Michael has a Roland V1 HD and was going to feed it into an input on the ATEM. Will the audio latency be different from the V1 versus the ATEM? So the delay is in the video, and in my experience, I'm pretty sure that the Roland doesn't actually add any delay at all, like maybe more than a frame or so. I think that'll go great together. I always have to remember which one's which. Roland V1 HD, because they have like so many model numbers that are so close together. Oh yeah, that's the one that's that is the one with 4 inputs and the 4 inputs preview program. If you notice, it has 2 HDMI outs, which is actually really handy. This is so that's the main program output, and then the preview out can be used for either preview like in an ATEM switcher or multi-view or another program out. It's assignable, so it's super cool. Yeah, that would go great together with the ATEM Mini doing the streaming part of it. But yeah, so, and yeah, thanks for the super chat. So what I'm doing today with the stream is these comments are showing up from the app H2R Graphics, which I talked about last week. And actually John did a live stream on it last week as well. That is, let me drop a link in the chat to that, but this is a good tool for doing all sorts of different kinds of stream graphics, not just the chat, but the latest feature is that the YouTube chat is integrated now and can show up as comments like this. Yeah, so let me see if there were any other questions in the chat. Oh, so Coley Media says, we told you where we are. From where are you based? I'm in Portland, Oregon. So it is about 10 a.m. here. And yeah, this is my Tuesday morning activity. And I tried to pick this time so that we would get enough people from, have it not be too late in Europe, since I know a lot of you joined from Europe. It does unfortunately mean that the other side of, or farther east or west from me, of Australia and Asia kind of is a terrible time for that region. So I'm sorry, but hopefully you can catch up live, or not live, you can catch up later if you missed it. I don't know how to say your name, I'm sorry, Atias? I've also seen hexagon panels. That's a cool idea too. I think I'm actually going for the triangle theme though, because of the way the paint colors are like drawing a single line across the wall. But yeah, still need to figure out how I'm gonna build those. The Camille says the Godox, did I say that right? Yeah. There was this whole debate about what's the right pronunciation of that name, but apparently that's the one they prefer. UL150 is without fan, so better sound. Yeah, that is a great light. And they also have a very confusing model numbers, and I'm trying to remember which one is which right now because I just got one. And it is I got the SL150. Right, so the UL150 is the one that's actually no fan. Gerald and Dunn just did a great video about these like a couple days ago, comparing them and talked about them in great detail, and it's a great video. Definitely take a look. Also, New Layer has a video that just came out. Let me drop a link to that in the chat. Where was that video? This was about yeah, he actually is, I'll just drop a link to his channel. He has a couple of different videos about these lights, and he was the one that turned me on to the SL150, which is the one that is over there, and that's the SL150. Which the reason I like it is because it has no external power supply. The power supply is like built in. So the reason I like that is because I don't like having a bunch of big bulky things lying around. So it's got a really long power cord, and it's, it just plugs directly into the back of the light. And the fan is very, very, very quiet, I will say. So it's not too bad. Let me drop a link to that light because this is my new favorite light, I think. So that is, yeah, that's what I just shot on yesterday, actually. So that video is coming out hopefully this week. The sound's going to be bad, I'm warning you, but that's the point of the video. So yeah. Yeah, and then I got this little beauty dish for it too, which is nice and small, and that I think worked pretty well. But yeah, he's got a bunch of good videos about those lights, and it is a great resource. I'm still learning about lighting because that is not my specialty whatsoever. Well, cool. Let me see what else we've got going in the chat. Rick says, curious if you've developed some interesting, unique ways to use H2R graphics, some of your favorite macros. I haven't really automated H2R graphics much yet. Since I'm mostly only using it for this live stream right now, I'm pretty much using it only for the chat feature. And the countdown at the beginning actually wasn't running off of it either, because I realized that I would have to figure out how to get some color on top of the white background that I have that looks good. And I forgot to change the color at the last second here. So I was running the countdown like I normally do. But yeah, I haven't done too much automation with it yet. Controlling Technologies says, what are we drinking? Not today. I'm drinking coffee, and that's what we're sticking with today. Last week on Photo Joseph's live stream, things got a little bit out of control with some early morning tequila shots in exchange for super chats. And yes, that video is only viewable if you are a member of his channel. So if you're curious about what went down, it was the longest live stream in a long time, 2 hours. It was hilarious. Lots of good discussion, lots of good tips. And it was, what did he get up to? I think he ended up with 5 shots total. So that was impressive. But no, I'm not doing that this morning. Maybe some other time. All right. Let's see what else. Matt says, trying to use MIDI control of the ATEM to automatically start a configured stream destination. I programmed a macro that was working, but was wondering, can MIDI launch macros? I haven't actually done that myself. I do have a MIDI controller, so I should try that out. Let me make a note to test this out later, because I don't have anything here. And then I can either do a video about it or just try it on a live stream. It should be doable though. The trick is going to be finding a way to chain the MIDI to send a command to something that can send a command to the ATEM. So probably software on the computer that bridges between MIDI and the ATEM control. I don't think the companion app has a MIDI interface directly, but you should be able to use MIDI to OSC to companion to the ATEM at least. But anyway, that's just off the top of my head. I should actually properly research that before I say too much more. Like this review says, in a previous show, you said different delays from different cameras as an input to the ATEM Mini. Is HDMI cable length a factor here? Yeah, so every camera will have a different HDMI delay, which means that it's going to be really hard to sync up audio with multiple different brands of cameras, or even different models of cameras. The cable length is not the factor. Like the data moves at the speed of light. You're not gonna slow down the speed at which the data travels through the cable. Cable length does affect the quality of the signal that passes through the cable. So the longer the cable, the harder it is to actually have the signal reach the end. That's not going to end up looking as like a lag. It's going to end up looking like dropped frames or added noise or just static or just no signal at all. So that's what you're going to see with cables that are too long. And then of course, cable thickness is the other factor as well. So thicker cables mean better isolation, more ability to hold a signal, and so those can go longer. But that's really that's what the That's what we're talking about. So the delay is actually in the camera itself. So every camera has a different amount of work that it does before it outputs the video over the HDMI. So that's the thing that affects the amount of delay that you will see in the ATEM. Cool. So Peter says, I'm waiting for my ATEM Mini Pro, wondering if there's an advantage to using an audio interface before inputting to the ATEM. Yeah, I would say there is an advantage. A couple of things. So the ATEM Mini does have 1/8 inch audio inputs on it, which is a very cool feature, and I'm glad they have it. However, they're not like high quality inputs. So what I mean by that is they're often noisy. So if you don't have like your grounding set up right, and you can very easily create ground loops that show up as a buzz, or just extra static from a wire that's run along some other power cables can introduce noise into the line. So again, shorter cables are better. I'm using this. So my microphone here is actually running into the, my microphone. This is the mic I'm using, and it's running directly into my camera, which is how I avoid the lag problem, right? Because it's in sync coming out of the camera in the first place. I am using the 1/8 inch audio to run the music. So the music's coming off of this iPod, and it's got a short little cable there into the ATEM Mini. So that's a short cable. Also here I can actually show you this. Let me put on headphones so I can double check that it's working. If I plug in the power, so I'm plugged in, and now if I turn this on, this one, turn the volume up. Do you hear the little crackling? Right? It's not great, right? So if I unplug it, it goes away. So that's because of the sort of situation I've got here of so many things connected to the same power sources, where that introduces that noise in the line that's coming over the lightning cable, which interferes. So the advantage to using the audio interface is that you can get much higher quality isolation from that, and then bring that into the ATEM with a short cable. So that's where you can connect more microphones. You can do you can have a physical control surface, which you can use to adjust your levels, and you can then use XLR mics with that, right? So all of those things can help you either get more inputs of different kinds, or higher quality inputs, and then you can bring those into the ATEM Mini over the 1/8 inch. And again, you might have some ground loop issues if you maybe try a transformer isolator, which I realize I have one here, and I haven't actually yet tried it to see if it helps that problem. But those are some things to keep in mind. All right. Nathan says, is it possible to have a macro trigger another macro? That is an excellent question, and I'm thinking it's not possible, because well, we can try it. Why don't we just try it and see what happens? Because what could go wrong, right? That's what this is all about. So if I bring my my control interface here, let me switch to the test one so that I don't mess things up too much. So this is the, oh, I should probably show you that, huh? Okay. Oh dear. What's happening? That's not what I wanted to show you at all. Okay, I'm really confused. Something is still, there we go. Key, some key is on. Okay, reset. Come back. Okay, that was weird. I don't know what was going on. So if I show you, this is the test ATEM. Yeah, And if I bring up the macros, we can try to record one and see what happens. I don't think this is going to work. So if we record one called test macro running macro. Oh, okay, too long. So, you know, if I do like, you know, click that gets recorded into the macro. The question is, can I click run on a macro and have that be recorded? I'm going to run this macro, which will set the output to camera 1. So I should become full screen in this little blue box. Recall and run. Go. No, I don't think it's running. Okay. Let's see if that did it. Stop recording. Now, what I'm going to do is save this because then we can actually see what's inside. Call it test. And save only the macros because I don't care about everything else. And then open up my text editor, and over here, there's going to be a macro called test macro. And, oh, you can't see it. Let me scoot it over. So it recorded the preview input, which was switching to the color bars. And then, interesting, it ran, when I ran the macro, it recorded the result of the macro into here. This is what was in that other macro. So it didn't record the action of running the macro. It actually, when it ran the macro, it ran all the steps, and all the steps got recorded into this macro, which means if I change the other macro, this will not be changed, right? So does that make sense? Yeah, if I were to go and this was macro, I don't know, like, here, 21, and it had only one action in it, right? If I were to go insert another action into this macro and save this, well, it's already got just the action written in here, so it's not like it's actually running that macro. So you can't like chain them, but you could use that, I guess, to as a shortcut for, yeah, I don't know why you would do it, because like if you're honestly creating macros in the interface is not super great. I don't like doing it except for figuring out what goes in the XML, because I much prefer editing my macros by actually going through this XML and copying and pasting things from here. So it would be easier to just be like, oh, I need, you know, this sequence of actions again. So let me just copy these and then paste them down in this macro. That's easier than for me in my head trying to remember what was happening in this macro and clicking it in the interface. Anyway, let's go experiment though. Let's see if I can get this back to normal. Hopefully, hopefully that was interesting. Good question though. Yeah, cool. All right. We're back. And all right, let me catch up on the chat. Cajoling Technologies, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for the coffee. Someone asked me about usernames and password auth using Wowza and the ATEM. Blackmagic suggests baking into the RTMP URL. Supposedly it still fails anyway for auth in XML. Yeah, I was trying this a while ago too. We had a thread going on the forum about this. Which it was confusing because both companies were saying like, no, do it this way, and it should work fine. And like, I haven't actually been able to get it to work. But the, so these are the forums, forum.livevideotech.today. Great place to continue these discussions afterwards, after these streams. But somewhere in here was, authentication. I think it was this thread. So there were a couple of suggestions of how to include authentication in the URL, like this, or like putting it in the username and password field of the URL. This is, I think, what should work. And that's what they said on the forums, but I tried using this service and was not able to actually get it to work. And I don't know of any other services that do username and password authentication to try with. But I apparently Wowza is one of them, so I will try that again. As for this question though, you're not really going to get any additional fields in the XML that you wouldn't get in the software interface though, because the software interface just has a field for the URL, and that's what goes into the XML. So you need to be able to put the username and password in that URL, and the ATEM has to understand it. So I haven't done enough tests on it to figure out whose fault in the chain that is, whether it's Blackmagic or the streaming service. But yeah, hopefully that helps. All right, Serge says, was wondering if there's a way to repeat macros. I have some I want repeating and some I want to play only once. Yeah, there is, and it is the little button in here called this one, repeat. So if this is on, then when you run a macro, it will keep running. And I did a demonstration of this. In, let's see, this one should work. Oh yeah, you're not seeing it because I don't have the multi-view on. Anyway, it is, well, you can see that the interface is looping, right? It keeps flickering at this because every 3 seconds it repeats the macro. If that is on, it'll repeat. So the repeat is not stored, whether it repeats is not stored in the macro. It is just a mode of the ATEM. So if you wanted to repeat only certain ones, you'd have to toggle this on and off before you run them. And now that reminds me, I can't actually remember whether or not the repeat was an action you can toggle in a macro. But I did this video, published it last week, about how to do a looping camera sequence. And this was the macro I made for that. I don't see the action that says whether to loop. I don't think that can be recorded in a macro. So you do have to toggle it. Yeah, you would have to toggle that every time, which is kind of annoying. Let me try that again, because I feel like this should be possible. Test, loop, record. Can we record that action into the macro? And then we save this as test and save just the macros and go back into here. And what did it do? Test loop, it recorded no actions. Oops, you can't see that again. There it is. There it is at the bottom. Did not record any actions. So the act of pressing that button, unfortunately, is not something you can put in a macro. But that is good to know. So Serge says, I wonder if you can just add a loop true attribute. I mean, have you seen that somewhere? Because like just making up attributes won't work necessarily. And oh, it is in the XML. However, it's not in the macro. So yeah, this is definitely not going to work. There is a macro control option here called loop equals false, which saves the state of that button into this. But notice that it's outside of the macros. This is just like saving the state of the buttons. So I don't think it's scriptable in the macro itself that way. That's a good feature request though. All right, where was I in the chat? Rich says, I'm using H2R Graphics with the downstream key as the upstream key is used for green screen. Any tips how to configure H2R when using Luma key and Luma key settings in the ATEM? That's what I'm doing right now. So I can show you what settings I've got, because that's how this is working for this exact chat. This chat is coming from H2R and it is Luma keyed. If I show you, if I just show you the H2R window, oops, I'm on the wrong ATEM. Back to the live one. This is what it looks like, right? It's black background. So I can show you what I'm doing to make this work, which is palettes, not upstream key. So the upstream key is right now used to show me. So that's the upstream key. And I'm using the downstream key to overlay the graphics from that other computer or from my other monitor. I've got 2 external monitors on this laptop. Downstream key, fill source is, it's actually the other ATEM because again, mine are chained together because I wanted more inputs and be able to show you things on the stream without messing them up. And then these are the settings I'm using. So no mask because I want to be able to use the full space of the screen because some of the other stuff in H2R Graphics shows up elsewhere. And then it's not pre-multiplied. It would look weird if it was. Actually, it's not. You can kind of see what happens. It gets a little bit like translucent. You can see the text. But the clip and the gain are the ones to adjust. So clip adjusts how much of black, like how dark you want it to key out. So if I lower it, it's going to right. So now it's not keying out all the way. You want to adjust it up until you stop, just until it stops changing, right? You want it to be as low as you can possibly go without, because if you go too high, you start losing some detail in the image. So like, right, the white will be the last thing to go, but like those colors, you start losing them if that's too high. So you want to go as low as you can, because that is going to remove blacks from someone's photo also, if there is actual black in the photo. And then the gain is the other end of it. So you want to, if the gain is too low, then it starts looking again like dark or translucent. So you want to adjust that. And I think I'm trying to remember why it's the same all the way up here, all in this range. I think it has to do with my clip value. Anyway, inverted then flips it, which we don't want to do. But yeah, so that's how you do it. And then in H2R Graphics itself, you still use the chroma window because that's just a single window. Key fill will give you 2 windows. One, if you run both into the ATEM, you can actually get a much better key that way. You have to have an extra monitor for that, like two outputs from your computer, 2 inputs on the ATEM. But then in the chroma settings, you have to use a black background, and that will make a black background on the H2R window so that you can then use a Luma key out. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Cool. And let's keep going through the chats and see what we've got here. Explain says, what is the best way to use the Stream Deck to send lower thirds in the ATEM Mini Pro other than the pricey Blackmagic Hyperdeck? Well, if you're talking about, while we're talking about H2R Graphics, I mean, this is a great way to do it. So if I show you again, this window, this has lower thirds built in, right? So I can just like turn on a hello world. And you can see it's got a little bit of an animation. It's got a little slide out. You can actually change like where it's positioned, upper thirds. You can change how long it stays on the screen. And then these will adjust what it looks like. So you can create your own themes for what it looks like, changing the colors and things like that. This is a great way to do it. And you can like stack up, right? You can stack up like, queue up a whole bunch of different things for different speakers and then show them, on the screen. And this app is free, so that's a good option. And get out of there. Okay. If you want like if you want lower thirds that are more full of graphics and not just text, like so H2R Graphics, it's going to give you like the rectangle and like a text, and you can use CSS to change it a little bit, like add a border or whatever. But you wouldn't be able to like put full images in there. In order to do that, you do need a fancier graphics generator. You could use other programs though. There's like other apps that do that are graphics generators that are, you know, can have more options. And sometimes they're not cheap also. But that's totally another option. And I would again use a Luma key for that to do that. James says, oh yeah, here's an example of the other side. The avatar has some black in it, so it got keyed out. Does the ATEM Mini Pro record longer record times as one continuous file? My current encoder paired with the ATEM Mini splits into 2 GB files, but prefer as one file. I don't actually know. I haven't recorded anything for that long yet. And it would take a long time to test, but I should test that. Michael says, can the ATEM do a multicam output view showing all 4 cameras in boxes like the V1 HD can? Sort of. So I can show you what it looks like. See, it did it again. Okay, what is going on? When I go, there must be something wrong with what I've got in those macros, because it's like not quite, yeah, I think it's not changing one of the key sources, one of the upstream key source or something like that. Anyway, the window that you're seeing me in right now is the HDMI output of my secondary ATEM, which is how you're seeing on the stream. So it's running its output into the main ATEM that's doing the streaming. And this is what it looks like. So it's not quite the same as the Roland. It's because it's got, so the Roland has just four cameras in like a quad view. This is different, right? This is preview, program, and then the 4 cameras along the middle there. And then the bottom is the graphics player, the streaming status, the hard drive status, and the audio meters. So quite a bit different from the Roland, but actually a lot more powerful because you get to monitor the streaming status and things like that. So that's like what I've got on my desk, right? I'm seeing my computer to control, and this is the one that's shared into the ATEM, so you can see it. And then the monitor over here is actually, and that this is my main ATEM. I actually have this now running into this monitor, which then outputs that monitor just so that it's bigger over here. When I do the workshops like that I teach, I actually have both of my monitors on like as my computer output, so I can share this one over Zoom, so they can see my slides, and I can be over here and have like my chat and whatever other windows I need. And that's why I got this, so that I can still see the multi-view out of the Mini. And when I'm doing those workshops, I'm not actually switching that much stuff on the ATEM, so I don't need it to be big to see what I'm doing. I just need to make sure that it's got my webcam, on the right input. And I put like the graphics up during the breaks and stuff like that. But yeah, so the multi-view out is different from the Roland. So it's not just the quad view; it is actually a lot more stuff. Cool. Oh, now I'm caught up to where I dropped New Layers channel in the chat. So I'm way behind on the chat. Robin says, if you go for triangular, you can incorporate the Nanoleaf light panels. That is a good idea. I swear I pre-ordered or backed on Kickstarter the Nanoleaf stuff at some point, and I cannot find a trace of it in my email. Like, I would have assumed I would have gotten a receipt or a confirmation from Kickstarter or wherever it was, and I cannot find it. I can't figure out if there was like a different one that looks the same that I can't remember the name of that I backed instead. I'm super confused. But yeah, those things look awesome, and I definitely want to get them if I haven't already. So yeah. Innovative Media says, made it to the live this week. Thanks, awesome. Thanks, it's good to see you here. Adam says, I'm thinking about making a camera tally light using Arduino. Any experience getting Arduino to listen to the ATEM over a network? That's a cool project. I know there's some other projects that do that as well, so I'm pretty sure there's some good resources on how to do that. It's been a long time, but I did actually build a like a little box to switch camera angles a long time ago with an Arduino. I got an Arduino with a network jack on it, and there was an Arduino library for it, and I wired up some buttons and made those my camera switching buttons or macro buttons. That was before I got the Stream Deck, which just is a lot better, lot better version of that. This is a nice little clunky box with some buttons, but it was fun. It was a fun project. But yeah, totally. There's some good libraries and tutorials and stuff out there for using the Arduino, with the ATEM. Leonard says, if you make use of macros, do macros switch between graphics that are located in the media pool? You totally can. Yeah. So you can't load new graphics with the macro, of course, because the macro just controls what the ATEM does. But if you can have 20 graphics loaded in the media pool, and then you can, your macro can choose which of the graphics is active. So you can definitely, like, for example, load up lower thirds as static images as graphics, and then use macros to switch like which one is being shown on the stream. Tim says, have we missed the garbage truck? I think it came 2 minutes before we were live. Robin says, I would like to have more choices and themes on H2R Graphics. Do you have a suggestion on where to get or how to make them? So how to make them would be using CSS. There's every screen in this has CSS, right? So for the lower thirds, there's like customize, and then these are the classes that are added to the different elements. The chat has it, or the chat does not have it. I don't know why. Oh wait, is it down here? Okay, so just color options, no CSS options. But for like the timer, if we count down till 11, that's gonna show up on the top. And then, you can, first of all, just change the color, but you can also add CSS. So you can say like, font size. Oh wait, size is one of the ones. Yeah, no, yeah, size is one. So I'm not gonna do that. Let's say, text shadow. How does text shadow work? Oh, I don't remember the syntax for that. What can I do? Border. We can add a red border to the text, and do we have to make it? Yeah, okay. Oh, that didn't do what I wanted. I meant text outline is what I wanted. Anyway, you get the idea, right? So you can customize it. And to save these, there is a export button. So this is where, if you do this, it will export all of your CSS you've written as a file, and then you can load themes in as well. And that is cool. I haven't done that yet. As far as sharing them, I don't know if John has a preferred way to do this, but I would say drop them in the forums. Create a thread to share your themes. I think that'd be a great idea. So yeah, that's I'll drop a link in the chat, and that would be a great place to share those. Cool. Damien says, what should my streaming settings be on the ATEM if my upload speeds are 15 megabits a second? Generally, you want to be like around half of your available upload speed, or rather not more than half. So with 15, you should be fine at streaming high, which is streaming high setting is at 30 frames a second, it's 6 megabits a second. At 60 frames a second, it's 9, I think. So that should give you plenty of room to stream at the high streaming option. All right. Oh, Tim says there's a video about mini controllers over at Here to Record. Excellent. That is, that's great. So yeah, go check out Here to Record on YouTube. That's John. He makes H2R Graphics, and he has very good videos about setting up the Stream Deck, and apparently also a video about using MIDI controllers. So go check that out. That's great. Carlos says, thanks for the tip of using the HDMI splitter to make the Chromecast work. It worked like a charm. That's great. Good to hear. Yeah, that's how I've got mine in here, and I'm surprised it worked that well. All right. We're scrolling through the chat here. Robin says, is there a way to have the multi-view and program as two clean signals so you can use the multi-view while sending the program to a beamer? So the ATEM Mini has one HDMI out, which you can choose what it does. You can choose whether it's multi-view or program out. There's no way to get another HDMI out of it. The only way to do that would be to run it through a computer. So if you plug in ATEM Mini as a webcam, then actually there's two ways to do it. So there's other video outputs from the ATEM Mini, right? There's USB webcam and Ethernet streaming. So if your HDMI is a multi-view, which is the only one that can do multi-view, then you can either plug in a computer and then use like QuickTime, for example, will just show the video, like show the live camera feed. And oh my God, I'm gonna sneeze. And then you can just like full screen it. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Okay. That'd be very loud in here. It would echo for like days. So yeah, that's one option, USB. The other option is streaming to something that can then put it full screen. That's obviously going to add a delay. So you could stream to a local server that then has an HDMI out that can show it on the screen. Like you could probably do it with a Raspberry Pi, but that's going to add a delay. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that's just one of the limits of the ATEM Mini is that there's only one HDMI out. The other, the fancier ATEMs will have more outputs. So like the Television Studio HD has an HDMI out. It can also send, it has like a dedicated multi-view out. It has an aux out that's assignable. So you can output to 3 different things, which is great. And there's like multiple programs out. All right. Going through the chat again. Oh, so when I send my audio out of my interface, Mixminus, into the ATEM Mini Pro, it's also sending my guest audio from the computer. Where's the computer plugged into? So what you need to be able to do is, you need to create what's called a Mixminus. And that's basically the idea that the audio that's going back into the computer for your guest does not contain their audio from the computer. And there's many different ways to do it. If you're using the Mixminus 3, I don't have that one, but I'm pretty sure it's got the ability to assign what goes back out the USB interface. So you can choose which of your inputs into that go back out of the USB interface, assuming that you've got that plugged into the computer as your USB audio interface. But that's what you need to be able to do is basically select, limit which of your inputs are sent back to the output that is going back to the call. It's a bit tricky to get your head around and a bit tricky to configure it. And some of the other products that are like made specifically for doing this sort of just do it by default. Like I think the Rodecaster Pro just does this by default. And that's because they know that you're going to be using it for that. So they just expect it. So yep, that's what I would take a look at though. All right. Oh, and I just saw your super chat. Thanks for that. Hopefully I answered your question. Nathan says, does the ATEM Mini accept a lav mic into its audio inputs? Yes. So the audio inputs on the ATEM Mini can be configured between either line input or mic input. So two different levels. I will say they're not super isolated, so there is likely to be some noise on the line, depending on the microphone you're using, depending on all sorts of things. Again, I don't really want to, I can't undo my cable, but I could plug this microphone into the ATEM directly, because this is not a powered microphone. It's just, it just is an 1/8 inch. So it would work in there. Now that there's an audio delay in the ATEM, I can actually delay it properly so that it matches. But before it had that, I was solving the delay problem by running it into the camera, and I just haven't bothered to change how that's set up. But yeah, it should work. However, again, they're not balanced inputs, so there's more likely to be noise on the line if you use it that way. All right, I am way behind on chat. I'm sorry. We're just like, y'all are great. You have a lot of questions, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to get to them all today. And I do actually have to leave at the top of the hour. All right. Mark says, is it possible to make a macro trigger from push of a button on the ATEM Mini? For example, if you push the key button, could I make, no, I keep asking them about this. And if everybody just goes and files like support requests with Blackmagic asking for this feature, maybe they'll get the message. But I really, really, really want them to be able to reassign the buttons on the top of the device, because I've said in many videos now, I am not going to use the picture-in-picture button on the device, especially the 4 with the little presets, like for the 4 corners, also the like changing which transition style. Like I'm just not going to use those buttons. The buttons that I use are audio, because I like a physical button right there that I know will cut the microphone, for example. So if I'm about to sneeze, I will mute my mic. And I also use the HDMI output toggles, because again, it's right there and it's a nice visual confirmation. I don't really switch between camera angles with the 4 buttons even, because I have macros that do that, because I'm often switching multiple things at once. So I would much rather reuse some of these buttons to run macros. And yeah, just keep bugging them about it. Maybe they'll let us do it, because that's something they could definitely do in software, like with a firmware update. All right, scrolling through here. I'm currently using NDI. Okay, what device can I use to incorporate gaming consoles on my streams? I don't have a PCI slot to use for internal capture card. With the Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro work? Yeah, so actually you don't need the Pro. If you're just trying to capture video from HDMI, the ATEM Mini, the cheaper one, will work just fine. And that basically just shows up as a USB webcam. So perfect for that. There's no NDI integration at all though. So it's going to, you're going to be on your own as far as like doing the rest of your mixing. If you're mixing with other NDI sources, doing that mixing in the computer. Egon says, I have Wowza with user password in the ATEM working. See chat. I think YouTube doesn't let you post URLs, and it probably blocked that. I didn't see it in here. Can you post it on that forum thread, or in the chat, post it with like extra spaces added everywhere so they don't think it's a URL? But the best thing to do would be to go back to that forum thread and drop it there. So let me drop a link to that thread in the chat, and then that would be great, because yeah, that was unsolved on that thread so far. Pickle Jar says, do you have a link to the 2-arm harbor holding your mic and camera? Yeah, I haven't even done like a proper video on this because I've still been iterating on it so much. But this is a variation of Caleb's YouTube Studio on a Desk situation. And this is actually a monitor arm. So it is, well, let me see if I can find it in my Amazon orders, but it's like one of those, it's one of those monitor arms that is, oh yeah, brand is called Wally. and I'm getting a link to this. So what I did was like, it comes with like one of these for like a dual monitor setup, but then you can buy either 2-segment or 3-segment little thingies, and then like it's all like modular. So I actually swapped this out. Right, this little piece up here is it came with like 2 of the 2-segment ones or something. Oh, this is a 3-segment. I didn't notice that. Anyway, you can just like take out the bolt here and then swap at each layer whatever you want, and then put them wherever you want. So I've got a 2-segment holding up the monitor here. Let me go around the back. Now I'm going to sound like absolute crap because I'm not talking to the microphone. Yeah, so there. So you can kind of see, oops, let me show my face. There's the two arm holding up the 2 monitors, and then there's an extra one up here holding up the camera. And then it keeps going, and there's a 3rd one up here holding up the light and the microphone. So what I did was, all right, let me grab all these links. No, I want to grab the arm first. Okay. Well, you know, this might take too long to find all these. Okay, I'll just drop a link to the main arm. And that is here. Cool. And then I'll just make sure I update this video later. I'll update this video later to include the links to the rest of the pieces so you can see them. But yeah, it's been working well, and now I've kind of got this finally in a place where I feel like it's been working pretty well. All right. Camille says, when switching to another camera angle, can the lighting also be switched? For example, changing the key light. I mean, if you can automate your lighting, then sure, right? If you're using the Stream Deck, and Companion is the piece of software that sends commands to the ATEM when you press the buttons on the the physical buttons, but you can actually have it send commands to multiple things at the same time. So eventually, I'm hoping to do some of that here. Like I want, like I have actually this light is connected to my smart home system here. So I want to make a button on the Stream Deck to control that light, which then means, yeah, I could have it switch camera angles and control a light at the same time with the one button press. Robin says, can you ask John to give a guest performance on your live show to explain more about the options and possibilities of H2R Graphics? He also has a lot of videos, though, and did a live stream, I think, just last week, or was it yesterday? I don't remember. But he has a lot of good videos about it already. So definitely go take a look at his channel. That's here to record. Renee says, I use the ESP32, which is a wireless interface. Please look at my introduction on the forum. There's an extension. Oh, cool. Oh, this must be about the controlling the ATEM from the Arduino. Yeah, ESP32 is awesome. I love that thing. And I'm planning on actually hooking one up to control my ceiling lights that I'm building. I just got the LED strips in. Fun. I got like a bunch of rolls of LED, individually addressable LEDs. So that's going up on the ceiling in that like cross pattern, X pattern. And I'm going to control them all with the ESP32. Only got time for a few more questions. Michael says, have you told us where to find the stream key for IGTV? I have no idea where to find it. Instagram does not officially want you to stream from anything except the Instagram app. I do not understand why, because they could get a lot better quality video if they allowed streaming from external to external devices, but it is not, it's their decision. They have not published how to do this. I'm pretty sure that people have figured it out, like figured out ways to find the key and push, but you are technically breaking the terms of service if you do that, and you risk Instagram shutting down your account. So keep that in mind. Video Rat says, are there scalers built into every HDMI input? If so, is there a need for a decimator as you do in the ATEM Studio HD? This is a great question. So there are scalers built into every input, and that's one of the reasons this is such a cool device. However, they're not as flexible as the decimator. So they handle fewer different resolutions and frame rates than the decimator does. So for the most part, you're not going to have any problem with relatively modern computers that have, you know, an HDMI out, and you're not going to have any problem with most cameras. If you start getting into sort of fringe devices that work at unusual frame rates or unusual resolutions, like I think it only actually scales 720 and 1080. So if you have something that's 480, for example, it won't do it. So if you have something like that, then you might still need a decimator for that. The decimator can handle almost anything. It's super awesome, but it's also $300. So that's also like one of the reasons why it's so cool that ATEM Mini has scalers at all, because the whole thing is $300 and it's got 4 of them. But yeah, so there's definitely some potential use of the decimator still, even though there are scalers. One of the other things is that it has SDI, right? So you can run much longer runs with that. And I just saw in the chat, Decimator solves HDCP. That's interesting. I haven't actually tried it with that. Does it solve as in strips it, or does it solve it as in it properly tells the other device that it does not support HDCP, so the other device does not send an HTTP signal? Because that's the problem most of the time, is that the so like the Chromecast is the unusual one in that Chromecast will not output to non-HDCP devices, but most other things like your laptop, the Mac laptop, if the other end says it supports HDCP, the Mac sends HDCP. If the other end says it does not, then the Mac does not send HDCP. So he says it strips it. Cool. That's good to know too. I haven't actually used it for that because I've just used it for long SDI runs. All right, we're coming up at the, well, we are technically past time. Let me see if there's anything else in here that I can grab real quick. Oh yeah, same issue with game consoles. A lot of them will only output HDCP, like the Chromecast. So Hisham says if you connect the program out from the ATEM Mini to an HDMI splitter and feed one output back into the ATEM can't display the input or the program as it freezes. I was thinking about this. You know, I almost rigged mine up this way because I wanted to see if I could do this stream on just one ATEM. You can tell I'm thinking about eventually when I'll be able to travel again, what I'm going to do about these live streams while traveling on the road. And one option is bringing the ATEM with me. Another option is bringing a completely different device with me. But if I bring the ATEM with me and I want to show stuff on the ATEM, then I would have to feed it back to itself. And I was wondering if that's going to work. Because what I've got now is I've got, the one ATEM feeding into the other, so I can show you I can't show you the multi-view out of my main ATEM because it's not running anywhere. But yeah, that's an interesting problem. I was wondering what it would do. So maybe I'll see if there's a way around that. Cool. All right. Oh yeah. Regarding NDI, so I have a whole thing going on with this right now. So, Tom, I don't think I recognize you from my earlier live streams, but I tried the bird dog to bring in a Skype call over NDI and it failed miserably. Go watch that live stream if you want a laugh. It just didn't handle the audio right. I've tried the Magewell also. I actually bought that one and it did work. and I was able to bring in the Skype call and other NDI sources into the ATEM. However, the one that I got, for some reason, could only be powered over Ethernet, and it wouldn't power up over USB like with the adapter they sent. So I was like, this is not cool, and I just returned it. There's another one that I'm going to eventually get once they figure out a local distributor to send it to me, which is the Delta N2H. And that one is supposed to also work with Skype. So I'm curious to try that out. And in the meantime, the one that I have used successfully, which I actually have set up here, is an Apple TV. And it works surprisingly well. There's an app. So the Apple TV is $180. And then you can buy an app for $100. So you spend $280 and you get an NDI to HDMI converter, as well as among other things, right? Like it's got a whole bunch of options because it's an Apple TV. I'm running my security camera software from that, or security camera viewer on that. So like you can actually see my security camera in here. If I go back to, oh, okay. You know what? I'm going to end here. Hold on. It was not the phone call I thought it was, but I had to interrupt that because I'm waiting for a delivery from DHL right now. They tried bringing it on Monday, and I was home, and they did not call me or try to get into the building, and then they marked it as undeliverable and held it for a week and just never tried bringing it back. And they are supposed to deliver it today now, and I am hoping they're going to call. So that's why I was like, okay, if I get a phone call on the live stream, I'm just going to take it because I need them to bring this package, because otherwise they're not going to ever deliver it again. And it is a very cool device that I'm looking forward to actually telling you about on this stream. The company sent it to me. So with any luck, I will have that soon and be able to try it out. So yeah, apologies. I do need to be right back. Yeah, that would have been a live unboxing. I do need a be right back screen. I did not have that at hand. I guess I actually do. I have my splash screen. Anyway, so we were talking about NDI. Next question was, are there any other options for bringing in an IP camera as an input? Which, in fact, there are, which is what I was about to show you. If I get back to the right ATEM, I was going to show you that. So if I switch back to, yeah, it's not what I want. Get rid of that. Okay. Multiview. And then if I show you my ATEM, that one called Apple TV, that is actually an Apple TV. And this is a security camera up there. And it's surprisingly not delayed. Like it's pretty quick, right? But it's going over Wi-Fi into the rest of the system. And this is just the Unify Camera app, which is then showing me the video feed. So you can use that. You can use, if you can find an Apple TV app that shows your, that can like view your camera, the Apple TV is a great way to turn your IP cameras into an HDMI feed. So yeah, fun. All right. I think I lost everybody now. So, but that was a good stream. Thanks for joining. I think we're going to cut it off here because I have to go, and hopefully I get that phone call, and then I can try out that new device and use it on the stream next week, because it should fit in nicely with this whole workflow. And yeah, looking forward to it. All right. Thank you all for joining. Have a great rest of the day, and same time next week, I think. If not, just check my YouTube page. It'll tell you the right time to join. And yeah, hopefully I'm getting a video out this week as well. So you should see that coming in the next couple days. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.